Cam Marston. Welcome to another episode of What's Working. Glad you're on for the ride. We're going to spend some time looking at some of the more interesting trends in the workplace and the workforce, both from people that are doing things as well as people that study the workplace and the workforce. Our guest today is actually grooming people for the workplace and the workforce. And I'll give you some more detail about him as we move a little bit further into this little introduction segment here. But I want to begin by asking if you'll step into the Wayback Machine with me for a little bit and ask yourself if you've had a similar experience to the one I'm about to describe. When I was guessing now, I guess it was 20 years old. I left New Orleans where I was going to college, and this was between my junior and senior year, and got in my little Honda Accord, which was held together, an old beat-up car that was held together with duct tape and chewing gum. It was old when I bought it, and it got infinitely older as I drove it around campus on the streets of New Orleans. Punished that car, barely held together, but I took it from New Orleans to Glacier National Park in Montana, where I was working for the summer. I had applied for a job out there to get away from everything that was familiar to me, to step into a whole different world, a whole different environment where I had no reputation, no expectations of me, whether good or bad. And I wanted to just free myself and see what it was like to, quote unquote, make it on my own, to develop a reputation and work habits and behaviors and new friends and things of that nature. So I got in that car and I started driving. The car held it. It made it. And I got to Glacier National Park, I'm guessing 3-4 days later. I stopped and saw many sights along the way and stepped onto the campus of one of those lodges where I was supposed to report, gave them my name, and began working there that summer. And it went wonderfully well. I did the same thing the next summer. I left Glacier National Park at the end of the summer with a broken foot, and actually middle of the summer with a broken foot, and drove back to Mobile with a broken foot. Now, the reason I tell you this is that I never felt more alive, excited. I felt like I was on the edge of safety and of danger. To be so far from home, knowing no one, having only my wits about me to try to figure things out. There was no one looking over me. There was no friend along with me. There was no caretaker. There was nothing. And it was just me and that car and the road ahead of me. I knew I could turn around if I needed to, and I knew people were expecting me if I continued forward. And I remember it this day, 30 years later, as a really very, very exciting time of my life. And again, I went back the next summer to re-experience that same thing. And it wasn't as much as being at the lodge and the employee of the lodge and taking care of the guests and all that kind of stuff, which I enjoyed. It was that exhilaration of almost being in danger. And that's the way I felt about it at the time. I'm almost in danger. Driving late at night through incredible thunderstorms, and if lightning would flash and there'd be antelope and 50 feet in front of the car, and somehow they'd be gone by the time I got there. Driving through exhaustion. I drove through tanks of gas. I only let myself stop at the end of when the car was nearly empty, and it was dangerous and it was foolish. But man, I felt alive. What does that have to do with today's show? I'm going to introduce you to a guy momentarily named Hayes Hitchens. Lives in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'll get him on the phone with us. He puts kids through scenarios, I'm guessing, somewhat similar. And I'm interested to talk to Hayes why he does it, where this motivation comes from, and what he thinks it does for kids that sign up for his camps, called Moondance, that sign up for his camps, and the situations he puts them in, and what it creates in them, and how this matters to you and me. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. We'll be right back with Hayes Hitchens of Moondance.
I'm Michael Coward. My team and I will work with your corporate team to help you with your executive employee benefit plans. We offer executive retirement plans that allow you to favor your leadership team as well as 401k plans for your entire company. We've served the Mobile market for over 20 years. Call us at 251-342-0446 or find us online at cowardassociates.com. That's COWART associates.com.
Securities offered through Pro Equities, member FINRA, SIPC.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
We're back, folks. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, and on the line with me is Hayes Hitchens. Hayes is calling in from Nashville, Tennessee. Born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, founded a camp called Moondance as a way to share outdoor adventures with young people. And Hayes, I want to talk to you about outdoor adventures and youth. I want to talk to you about how kids are different these days. I want to talk to you about your background. I see from your bio, you graduated at the University of Alabama, which means you're good people, served the Lovett School in Atlanta for 12 years as the Dean of Students, as well as the Director of Summer Programs. Hayes, thank you for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Good to be here.
Tell me the story of Moondance. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. I want you to describe it and tell me the story of the camp as it exists today and the purpose of it, maybe.
Well, to back it all up, I had a great aunt that started a summer camp up in northern Wisconsin in 1918, and her brother, my grandfather, and my grandmother started a summer camp in 1930. So I went there as a kid growing up out of North Carolina and heading up to northern Wisconsin, loved it. And when I was 14, all my buddies said you were too old to go back to camp, so I quit going. I thought I needed to do something else. I finished my freshman year at Alabama, and there happened to be a spot open. My uncle called me up, who was running the camp at the time, and asked me if I wanted to work up there, and I jumped at the opportunity, and I was there less than a week, and I realized, okay, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. I loved it, and there was something about working with kids, something about being outdoors that just sparked an interest. And I stayed there for a number of years, and my three cousins, all guys, decided to get involved in the business. And I tried to learn as much as I could about working in the camp business in the Southeast, and worked with a number of different camps. But I wanted to own my own. I wanted to run my own business, and found a terrific camp. So at the time I was working at the Lovett School in Atlanta, and I left Lovett and tried to buy this camp. And the next thing I know, that they decided to sell it to somebody else. And I woke up the next morning and thought, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I'm 35 years old, and I've been planning on this for the last 15 years, and I had to find something to do. And I had this idea. It was part of my business plan. Was a summer camp and a wilderness program for teenagers. And I thought, okay, well, I'll take this idea for the wilderness program. And in a week, we had a name and a business plan together, and had incorporated Moondance, and we were off and running. And 34 kids went with us our first year in 1996. We'll have about 1,500 kids with us this summer. This will be our 25th season coming up in 2020. So it's changed quite a bit, and different than a traditional summer camp. We call it adventure travel for teens, and so we're not really in a set location. Our programs are operating all over the world. So we're in 17 different countries, 5 different continents, and 11 different states where we're operating now. I think the toughest part for me, Cam, is the fact that when I was involved with the camp, I could see the kids every day, and that's what I loved. I got into this because I love kids, and so the toughest part for me was understanding that the way the business model is set up is that we're sending kids to these different destinations, and I don't get a chance to see them on a daily basis. And now with 1,500 kids, I don't get a chance to see many of them just because they're scattered all over the world. But I do know the impact that the business has on kids, and that's what continues to just fuel us. And we continue to try to see how can we make this better? How can we do things a little bit better every single time? And that's where we are. So we've just finished our 24th season. I'm more excited than ever to see how's the next year going to be, because as we look at this, we're only as good as our last season. What we did 10 years ago, 15 years ago matters, but doesn't matter as much as how will we this past year. And we've got a great group of young adults that work for us. We've got about 110 people that are working and leading these trips during the summer, and then I'll be here in the Nashville office with another dozen people that are working for us, and I'll travel a little bit during the summer and see some folks. But that's where we're going from our first year to now.
I want people to understand something as we get into this. So the model of camp that I grew up with, I went to a place called Camp Strong River in Mississippi somewhere. I can't remember the name of it. And I would get in the car and neighborhood kids, and we'd carpool in our station wagons, and parents would drop us off and they'd come pick us up 2 weeks later. And while at Camp Strong River, we largely stayed on campus with the exception of a couple of canoe trips that I still remember. But I want to read off the destinations that Moondance Adventures offers. I've got it on the website right in front of me. This is called the Classic, and I want to understand the differences of these as a part of our conversation. So we have Jackson Hole as a destination, Seattle, Keflavik, Iceland. I don't know if I pronounced that correct. Anchorage, Alaska, Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, Geneva, Switzerland. Here we go. Zagreb, Croatia, Venice, Italy. The mystery trip, which has no destination listed, a big question mark on it, a hefty price, and I want to talk to you about that too. Another one in Anchorage, Oslo, Norway, Rome, Venice, Madrid, San Francisco, Belize, San Jose, Costa Rica, Quito, Fiji, Kona, Hawaii, Mount Kilimanjaro. This is not Camp Strong River. This is not where I send my kids today, Camp Mac. This is something completely different. Why is this? What is the business model that makes these destinations so appealing to kids, and what is the change that it makes in them?
Well, we found when I started, we were operating trips domestically. We were operating a trip in North Carolina and another trip in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And as we've grown, we've continued to operate trips in Seattle and California and Alaska and Colorado, and they were all great. I did a NOLS course, the National Outdoor Leadership School course, about 30 years ago, and when I designed all this and set this all up, I wanted very much to have a program or business that used a similar model where you take kids and you're going on challenging programs. You're out in these incredibly beautiful destinations, but to find out what it's like to be pushed and being in a small group, and how does everybody support each other, and how does everybody grow in an environment like that? Because it does sound a little cliche to leave the comfort zone, but it's very real. It's very real for people to go out and be uncomfortable. But what we're teaching them is how to be comfortable while being uncomfortable, and how do you meet a new group of kids. And so with that said, it started to blossom, and we were able to offer new destinations and new challenges. And so it might be climbing the Grand Teton or climbing Mount Rainier or backpacking in Alaska. And then we started offering some international destinations in Costa Rica, and that became popular. And then we were looking at new destinations. And so we're on the Tour de Mont Blanc in Europe. And what it amounted to was just places that I really wanted to explore myself. I didn't get a chance to travel as much growing up. And then more and more people were signing up to go to these far-off places. And what has really grown in our business over the last several years is not only the international destinations, but also the service aspect of it too. So they might be in Fiji and doing a service project, and but also learning how to scuba dive or running a river in Fiji, but having that opportunity to give back to the community. And we do the same thing in East Africa and Tanzania, where they're going to go work for a school for 5 or 6 days and really spend time with the local kids over there before they go climb Mount Kilimanjaro and go on safari. So the international destinations have grown tremendously. And then the other part of it too that is tough for us as a business is that the national parks are harder and harder to get permits for a commercial operation over there, where it's easier domestically. So parents are, and we get this often, that they are sending their kids to places that they would like to go, but they don't necessarily want to go. So there are not many parents that want to go to Iceland and go trek through the backcountry of Iceland, or there are not many parents that we've talked to that might want to go to some of these other far off destinations and have a challenging program, but they want their kids to experience this. And we're seeing a lot more of the young college age students that are doing a semester abroad. When I was in college, that was not even an option to go study abroad. Now it's very common. So the world's getting smaller. Parents are interested in educating their kids in ways that they might not have been able to do as when they were younger, and they also realize roots and wings, and they let their kids spread their wings, find out what they're capable of doing independently. So the trip really starts when they're in the airport and they have to navigate their way through the airport. Sometimes they'll fly with the Moondance leaders, and sometimes they might be flying independently, and that's a great lesson for them to just, how do we travel, and why do we travel, and what do you get out of that when you experience something like this?
Hayes, I'm going to interrupt you. We got to go to break real quick. I want to come back to here and talk about what travel has meant to you, taught you. I also want to come back and ask if you have an agenda for your trips. If there's something, there's a syllabus that you put these kids through. Folks, you're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. On the line is Hayes Hitchens. If you got feedback for me or want to send us your opinions, 251-260-8100. Phone me, text me, leave me a message, and we'll respond. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Cam Marston. If sales in your business comes from prospecting to create leads that lead to sales, I want to tell you about Sales Up Coach, a cloud-based system created for the next generation of sales professional. There's a big difference between being busy and being effective. And Sales Up Coach helps salespeople who rely on prospecting uncover which of their activities produce the greatest results. Over time, Sales Up Coach's machine learning hones salespeople's schedule to focus only on activities that generate the most bang for the buck. Your sales team interacts with Sales Up Coach on their smartphone, and sales managers can instantly generate reports to see who is on goal and who may need additional support. Go online and take a look at this new and very powerful sales tool. Go to salesupcoach.com/Cam Marston. Watch your sales team's productivity change.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
Hi there. I'm Josh Knoll with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. As your business grows and you accumulate wealth, planning to protect your assets becomes more and more important. I work with individuals and business owners throughout Baldwin County to help them protect their prosperity. Call me today at 251-327-2124 or find us at gulfcoastfa.com.
Securities offered through Pro Equities, member FINRA, SIPC. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Hayes Hitchens is on the line with me. He is the founder of Moondance Adventures. It's a, Hayes, I want to call it a summer camp, a destination summer camp of exotic destinations. And prior to the break, we were talking about the travel, what it teaches people, and a syllabus or an agenda. Are you putting, do you have a starting point and a finish point, not in terms of travel, but in transformation of the individual? So let's talk about travel and what it teaches people.
Well, one of the things, Ken, that we've done since I started was that we allowed no more than two friends to go together on a trip. And having been in Atlanta, and it would have been a lot easier to just grab a lot of kids that knew each other to go on a trip. And I felt strongly that it was more important that they learn to meet new kids. And so from the start in our very first year was that we allowed no more than 2 friends in a particular group. And that's worked really well, because what they're learning is how to meet and get along with the kids, like them in many ways. They're kids from, we had them from about 42 different states this past summer, but oftentimes in a small group, about a dozen kids, half guys, half girls. The kids will get a chance to meet each other. So it's a little bit uncomfortable on that first day. You can imagine, but at the end, it's magical, where they really feel a strong bond with each other. So that's one of the best lessons that I think that we teach, and I oftentimes talk about. It's not about the destination. It's not about what they're doing, but it's who they're with and who their leaders are. And the leaders make all the difference in the world. So we do have a curriculum set up, and depending on the age and depending on the destination, where they might go, and a lot of it we talk about is leadership, and we also believe strongly that when they're challenged, characters develop. So it is a great opportunity for us to teach kids what they're capable of doing. Oftentimes, I think a lot of folks say, "Well, gosh, I don't know if I can do that or not," and don't do it because they don't have the confidence they can do it. When we put them in a situation that they're pushed a little bit, they're challenged. It's not mom and dad that are over there encouraging them. It's these dynamic young adults that are leading the trips. They feel like they can do anything, and when they walk out of there, it's really about confidence. It's about a sense of pride, and they walk a little bit taller, and their shoulders are straighter, and so though we have a set curriculum for each trip, each destination, and an opportunity for them to get to know where they're going, it's really about the group dynamic. It's about the different challenges that they might have, and then with the service trips, again, they're giving back to the community, so that it's that sense of pride that they've done something for somebody else, and they feel really, really strongly about that as well.
So the leadership component, the challenges that you mentioned that are causing these kids to reach further inside of themselves, get motivated by the group leader, and I assume their peers on the trip as well. Are these scheduled challenges? In other words, we're going to have to ford this river. We know it's coming, and the course isn't done until we actually cross this river. Are there scheduled conflict is not the word, but scheduled adversity that you make every kid go through in some sort of another?
Well, depending on which trip they're going on, yeah, I think it's one of the things that we try to have for every trip over there. That something physically challenging needs to happen on almost every single trip that we're going on. So whether it's climbing Mount Shasta in California, or paddling in the Poly Coast in Hawaii, or trekking through the Tour de Mont Blanc in France and Switzerland, all of those are challenges for kids, and so they're not sitting around. Just with a 14-year-old daughter, I see how that is with just your phones these days, and so one of the first things that we do is take everybody's phone away and take everybody's watch away, because we want to rise with the sun and set with the sun. We want them to unplug, and so that might be the first challenge that some of these kids face over there, is just not being connected to the parents. But I also think it's good when kids have something that they a goal that they'll shoot for. And so we had 58 kids that summited Mount Kilimanjaro this summer. It's a 19,000-foot mountain. That's pretty darn tough. And but they're not doing it on their own. They're doing it because they're supported not just with their leaders, but with the other kids on the trip. Or we are trekking through Slovenia, or we are scuba diving in Thailand, and so it's the support with everybody else. And again, when they are taken out of those things that are comfortable to them and placed in a situation that might be a little bit uncomfortable, that's where they grow. And we've seen this time and time again, where it is the act of pushing their boundaries a little bit, what they're capable of doing, is when the growth really happens. And it's it's a humble pie when I read parent evaluations of what their sons or daughters are getting out of these programs, and it's not always about oftentimes it's not about the destination. It's about what they're learning and how they're growing. And there's so much that needs to be said about the leaders that are in charge of these.
Where do you find trips? These people? These sound like exceptional people. Where do you find them? How do you vet them? How do you make sure they're qualified to leave a band of teenagers through a remote land?
Well, Cam, probably the most important thing that we do is who we hire to work for us. So this past summer we had 110 trip leaders, what we call them, and minimum age is 21. Average age is about 23, 24. We've scoured the country, although we have a strong southeastern following. So really, I talk about it almost a crescent moon from Richmond down to Dallas and every place in between. So we'll go visit colleges all over the U.S. We have 3 people in our office that specifically are in charge of the hiring process. And so we'll interview, this past year we interviewed over 400 potential staff for about 50 spots. We had 52 new trip leaders this past year, and then we had the rest had been with us for the previous summer. And oftentimes they're going on, they're graduating from college, they're starting their careers, and so they can't come back and work summer after summer. But we're looking for 2 main qualities. Most importantly, they have to love kids. If they don't love kids, it's not a very good job for them. They also have to have competence in the outdoors, or it's not a great job either. But it's the soft skills that are the most important. We can teach them the hard skills. We can teach them how to do a lot of the different activities that we're involved in. But it's really the soft skills and how do they deal with the kids. And then when we're involved in technical activities, if they're climbing or paddling or any of that, we subcontract with professional guides, and so it makes it easy to have the leaders that are really working on the group dynamics, and they're spectacular. They are so important to our success, and it's a sense of pride that we take, and it's the reason why we've had such great success over the years is because of the leaders and the kids. I think the kids would probably tell you the same thing, is that their leaders made such a difference in their success of their particular trip. And it's something that we have to do every single year because we've got a lot of folks that are going to graduate from the University of Virginia or from Vanderbilt or from the University of Texas or wherever they might be coming from. And then they're going off and starting their career. So we have to continue to market. Yeah. Same thing that all the great coaches are doing there. It's recruiting, and it's a big part of our business as well.
There's a local girl here who I know her parents. I know her. She's a friend of my own daughter's who went on to one of your Moondance trips, had the opportunity to take a second one. Her parents said you could have a car or you can go on a Moondance trip. She chose Moondance. And a 16-year-old choosing you over a car and autonomy, I thought I got to learn more about this. Now I'm surrounded by it in many different ways. Tell me who your customer is. You've given me a great description of who you need to find to be your leaders and what their qualities are. Do you have a cut of customer that you can, you take 15 kids and they're with you in, Kilimanjaro. What are they going to have in common, these kids?
Well, having grown up in the South and having gone to school in Tuscaloosa and having lived in Atlanta for a number of years, I have a strong Southern following, and again, the majority of our base out of the 1,500 comes from the Southeast, but we have kids from all over the country, and we have several international students. There are several things that we look for. Their desire to be with us when they apply. They have to submit a couple of teacher references. We want to make sure that it's the right fit, and it's not a program for educated youth. It's not a program for parents to send their kids off. And so when you get great kids coming together, all like-minded kids that are excited about doing something different, excited about meeting new kids, excited about the different aspects of the trip, it really is magic that comes together. And so we have a very strong admissions process, and they'll go through and spend time going through and talking to the teacher references, talking to the families in advance, and then we'll travel the country in the early fall and do home presentations, and folks will find out about us oftentimes from a lot of those home presentations. Get a chance to talk to me because I love making those. I love making the connections with the families, but I also send other folks in our admissions office out, and we'll scour the country and do about 30 or 40 of these presentations a year, and it's a great time to meet a lot of families. And it's not the right program for everybody, but for the kid that loves to get out of the box a little bit and do something completely different than their friends, it's a great program, and I think I've never heard the story about her turning down a car to go on a Moondance trip, and I'm humbled by all that, and I love hearing these stories as well. It's really about the kids and the leaders, and the destination is secondary. The activities are important, but not as important as who they're traveling with. And so making sure that it's a conducive group of kids and leaders is the most important thing that we can do on our end. It ranges. These trips are fairly expensive. Do you agree, Hayes? This is not a inexpensive commitment. This is not something you just send them off for the weekend. They are expensive programs. Some of the trips include internal air over there. The mystery trip that you mentioned earlier includes a full air because they don't know where they're going on there. Much like a lot of the traditional summer camps that I grew up going to, our price point is in line with a lot of those. What additional expenses over there that parents have is the air to get to the destination. So I agree with you. Yeah, they're not inexpensive, and but we do feel like experiences in life are so important, and oftentimes can be priceless. When you learn something as a teen, you will remember that forever. And so we know that we have a small window of time. Really, there's a 7-year window that they can go on a Moondance trip, between the ages of 12 and 18. And if we can give them one summer that might have a huge impact on their life, we think that's great value in for that child. And sometimes they'll come back and do a second trip. Or we had a girl that just finished her 7th summer.
Oh, wow.
That's as many as you can do. And she's been all over the world. And let's take a break. We're coming right up on our break. It's a perfect time to pause. And I want to come back in a minute and talk to you about this expression that I've heard. I don't know if it's real. Outdoor deficit disorder. Are you familiar with this? Yes. All right, let's talk about that when we get back. You're listening to What's Working, folks. I'm Cam Marston. Get involved. Email me, CAM at cammarston.com. Let us know what you think. We'll be right back with Hayes Hitchens calling in from Nashville. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Cam Marston. If sales in your business comes from prospecting to create leads that lead to sales, I want to tell you about Sales Up Coach, a cloud-based system created for the next generation of sales professional. There's a big difference between being busy and being effective. And Sales Up Coach helps salespeople who rely on prospecting uncover which of their activities produce the greatest results. Over time, Sales Up Coach's machine learning hones salespeople's schedule to focus only on activities that generate the most bang for the buck. Your sales team interacts with Sales Up Coach on their smartphone, and sales managers can instantly generate reports to see who is on goal and who may need additional support. Go online and take a look at this new and very powerful sales tool. Go to salesupcoach.com/Cam Marston. Watch your sales team's productivity change.
Think about your home. What do you see? Do you just see 2 stories, or the stories of your toddler's first steps? Now think about your car. Do you see an odometer reading, or your kids reading in the back seat? Other insurance companies just see a house. They just see a car. But a State Farm agent sees what your home and your car really mean to you. So why not give them the protection they deserve?
You can reach me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, at AllisonHorner.com.
This program is also brought to you by my company, Generational Insights. We've been in the seminar business for 20 years, working with clients ranging from Fortune 500 executives to locally owned mom and pops, helping them improve their sales, their management, their recruiting, and their retention. We give knowledge first and then build tools based on that knowledge that make people more successful at their jobs. And soon, we'll add customer service training. Check us out at cammarston.com. I have Hayes Hitchens on the line. Born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, today living in Nashville, married and a daughter, Hunter. Hayes, you told me prior to us beginning the show that you and Hunter are on the way to the Rolling Stones in a week or so down in Miami. Is that right?
We're going to see the Stones down in Miami on the 31st of August.
So I want to talk to you about a couple of things. I'm going to bring in three different, I think, disparate ideas and ask you to react to them. First, you got a father and daughter going to a rock and roll concert together. That's new these days, let's say. Second, when I was on the way to the studio here to record this, in the parking lot as I got out of the car was a ribbon from a swim meet that had fallen out of someone else's car who was in the same parking lot before me, same parking space. It reads, the Mobile County Aquatic League City Meet Championship Participant. It's a neon green ribbon. I'm not going to say the name of the kid on the back, but he got 29th place, and this is his ribbon for 29th place. So, and third is what we mentioned prior to the break, outdoor deficit disorder. Kids these days, an expression that everybody says, kids these days. Talk to me about kids these days. Talk to me about how they're different, how parenting is different, and what the Moondance Adventures is hoping to do.
Ken, this is about my 45th year of working with kids. I started in high school and fell in love with it and continue to see changes over the years for young people. Obviously, in the last 10, 15 years with cell phones and how prevalent they are in our society and how kids are attached to them. Now it's a problem. And so one of the things that we do from the moment that they land on a particular trip is to take their phones up and have them unplug. And we take their watches away too. As I've mentioned earlier, we want them to rise with the sun and set with the sun. So when they don't have their phones with them, what happens is they get a chance to communicate. They get a chance to talk with each other. They get a chance to look around and see what's going on. They don't have headphones on, and they get a chance to hear what's going on around them. And so it's a real problem, and I don't know how it's going to be in 10 years. And so we're just dealing with it right now is to give them an opportunity to see how beautiful the world is in so many different locales. And from North Carolina to the other side of the world is where we're operating, and it's really, really important for kids to have an opportunity to reflect. And so a lot of times on our trips, we'll just have kids just sit and spread out a little bit and just think and gaze out to where they are. And it's something that we hear back a lot of times is that they just did not realize everything that was out there. There are no televisions, there's no electronics, there's nothing else to worry about except waking up, making a meal, being with their group, pushing themselves each day, and then coming home and setting up their camp, making a meal, and going to bed. So it's a very, very simple concept that works really well because they don't have that a lot of times. And that doesn't matter who's doing anything on Instagram or any of the other social media over there, because it's just about the group and just about this time over there. So we feel pretty strongly about, the rewards are, sunrises, and the rewards are laughter, and the rewards are, we think, forever. And when I reflect back on childhood, it is there's certain things that really stood out. And I still remember at my age vividly those memories. And I tell the kids often that you're going to be in a position over here that this might be something that is going to be a memory that you'll have forever. And that's really what we want to try to bring is these special moments that they will remember their lifetime, and with some great people. They may forget the names, and they may forget even forget the faces, but they won't forget how they felt when these experiences happen. And so that's what drives us, and we love it, and we know that it's a different time. Kids may be getting softer and may not want to put a backpack on and trek through Alaska, but the reality is when they put a backpack on and trek through Alaska, and it's hard and it's challenging with not only the weight of the pack, but the terrain or the weather. That's where the greatest lessons are learned over there about communication, about challenge, about perseverance, about trust, and that's where we have found great success in working with young people, because that window of time just flies by. That window of being a teenager just goes so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can give them a chance to just feel great about who they are and feel that they've done something unique and special, and it doesn't have to be going as far as where we're going. It can be as easy as going out and going out to the country and just going for a long walk with some friends or family or whoever it might be. But it is important to get out. It is important to get kids away from some of these things that are impacting not just kids. I mean, it's adults are the same, and I feel strongly about this too. And it's hard to get some adults to go out and want to do some things because it's uncomfortable, because they don't want to push themselves. I've seen it happen time again.
I talked to a woman in Northern California this past fall. I maybe see her again upcoming. I'm going back. Who told me that she didn't feel like her children knew how to do hard things. She said her purpose as a mother had been so much of taking hard things off her children's plate. And as a parent, as a mother, as an adult, she knew how to do them, and why burden her children with them. And her kids didn't think they could do hard things. Now, she wasn't talking about trekking through Alaska. She was talking about things around their community that these kids just thought, that's too hard for me to do. Again, not physical as much as just survival in a city. So she said, big, bold move, something I've never done. She backed away. And she told her kids, I'm not doing these things for you anymore. I'm not making your lunch before school. I'm not coordinating your rides to and from your events. You're old enough to figure this stuff out. Your grades show that you're intelligent. Over to you. And they revolted and they rebelled and they were angry and they gnashed their teeth and ripped their shirts and all that kind of stuff, but gradually figured it out. And she says, are much happier today as a result. Now that they know that they can do hard things, she says, they have a sense in front of them of what's possible. It used to be what's not possible. I can't do that. It's not possible. Now, gosh, I know how to do hard things. And what is now possible for me? It was a tough evolution, this woman went on to say, for her and for the kids to back away. It was against her parenting instincts to not do these things for her children. But she said with the greatest expression of confidence and satisfaction in herself, it will mean immeasurable things to her kids as those kids go on. Absolutely. The greatest thing that we can do as parents is teach them these lessons that they can do anything, but you can't do that for them. They've got to learn how to do it themselves. And having been an educator for a number of years, and the helicopter parent is a real thing. Yeah.
And we get it during the summer, and we do not communicate often when we're on our trips, and we'll post some things on our website so parents can kind of get an idea of what's going on with their trip. But a lot of folks want instant communication. They want to know how their child's doing every single day, and we don't post pictures because if somebody's not smiling, then we get a phone call and say, why is my child not smiling? Why are the other 11 kids smiling? My child's not. And it's an issue over there that we must all adhere to. So it's you've got to let them spread their wings in order for them to grow, in order for them to become independent, in order for them to grow into these fine young adults. And but until we do that, there is a problem. And so good for that mom. I love hearing that story.
Oh, yeah. Now, she's not affiliated with your camp. She's just a woman that was in one of my seminars that shared this story with me. And I was telling prior to the broadcast, the intro segment to the broadcast, a little story about when I drove myself from New Orleans, where I was going to school at the time, to Glacier National Park. by myself in a beat up old Honda Accord. And that was a hard thing. I didn't know if I would make it. The car was giving me reasons to be afraid that it would die at any moment. I knew no one along the way. No one, everybody knew I left, but no one knew I was coming until I got there. And they were aware that I should show up. But anyway, it was fear. There was a little bit of fear in me. There's a little bit of survival. And let me be clear. I wasn't having to find my own food or anything like that. I was on my own as a 20-year-old driving across the country and loved it. Remember every moment of it. It was a moment that I felt thoroughly alive. And my sense is you do this for those teenagers. You put them in these situations where they have perhaps a little bit of fear. They're going a long way from home. They don't know anybody when they're going to get there, and they've got to survive. And in a very small sense, that's the way I felt in those times going to Montana, and I remember it very clearly.
The greatest thing when they come away with this, again, this sense of pride, this sense of confidence that when they walk a little bit taller, again, it is such an important part, and it is good. It's a great lesson to be a little bit unsure and then succeed out there. And as I said, it could be as simple as how to navigate through the airport or how to meet somebody on the first day, and that's a very real fear for a lot of kids. Are they going to like me? Is this going to be something that I'll enjoy? And can I make it from concourse A to concourse B? And it's just an opportunity right there that everybody should experience at some point in their life of being a little bit out of their comfort zone, and then finding out, yes, I can do this. Sure, I can do it. And then it's easier the next time, and then it's easier the time after that. But if they don't push their boundaries a little bit, they'll never know. And it's you can see that later on in adults that are a little bit a little fearful for challenges that are out there. And so my dad shared a story of a buddy of his that was in the same business for 45 years because he was afraid of what it might be like to go out and find another business or another job over there, because the job that he had was supporting his family, and he always wanted to do something different. But when he retired, he'd been with the same company and never liked it. And then he shared with my dad that he never really liked his job, and he did it for 45 years. And as I shared with you earlier, I love what we do, and they're going to probably have to kick me out of here at some point, but I do love every single day, and it's what gets me up early in the morning and fuels my fire every single day, because we know that we have an opportunity to change lives. We're going to change a lot. We're not going to change everyone, but we're going to change a lot and impact them in a positive way. And what a joy to be able to do that.
No kidding. Tell me, is Moondance a reference to a Van Morrison song? Where does the word come from?
Bingo.
Yeah. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. And it's what you ask younger families, and they don't know anything about Van Morrison. And so
that's what's wrong with that's what's wrong with kids these days. That's what it is.
I'm taking my daughter to the Rolling Stones. That's why she's going to go have a chance to see that. But that was how it all came about. And,
so it's and I see a term on your website, a moon up. It sounds like something a bunch of college fraternity boys would do.
Not quite, but a moon up is again, it's all a simple concept. A moon up is just a way to put closure to the day. So we just circle up at the end of the day, and it's a really an opportunity for everybody to just talk, and it could talk about the day. They could talk about anything. They might have a quote that somebody starts off, and they might have a question that they ask, and it is really powerful, and kids love it. And it's just an opportunity for everybody to voice their opinion, and also to give out, we call them nugs or shout outs to somebody else, to just compliment them for something that they might have done that day. I mean, how cool is it for a 14-year-old to compliment somebody else for helping them get some water? How nice is it for a leader to give a compliment to another young kid over there for something that they might have done that day, and it doesn't happen as often as it should.
Yeah.
And it is a powerful part of our philosophy and our program. And kids of all ages, whether they're 12 or whether they're 18, find it as something that they just really treasure at the end of every single day that we're out there.
Hayes Hitchens is the founder of Moondance Adventures, folks. The website is moondanceadventures.com. The destinations are remarkable, and I think we've heard repeated, the changes these kids go through is remarkable as well. Hayes, I can hear the passion in your voice, and I can understand why you're so successful. I appreciate your time on the show, and best wishes to you. I understand. Yep, we got Rolling Stones coming up, and then Mount Killy after that. Is that right?
Reverse. I'm going to Kilimanjaro next week, and then I get back and fly down to Miami for the Rolling Stones. So, but it's all great.
It's great. Thank you for your time, Hayes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything. Great talking to you.
We'll be back with final comments. You're listening to What's Working. This program is also brought to you by my company, Generational Insights. We've been in the seminar business for 20 years, working with clients ranging from Fortune 500 executives to locally owned mom and pops, helping them improve their sales, their management, their recruiting, and their retention. We give knowledge first and then build tools based on that knowledge that make people more successful at their jobs. And soon, we'll add customer service training. Check us out at cammarston.com.
Life insurance is one of those subjects that make people want to change the subject rather than admit they probably don't have enough. I'm State Farm agent Allison Horner, and that's why I focus on how the benefits of life insurance actually live on by asking people to think in terms of life without having to sell the house insurance, or life without having to give up college insurance. Find out how the benefits of life insurance can live on for your family. Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, and get to a better state with State Farm.
Hi, I'm Jay Stubbs with First Protective. People approaching retirement are concerned about outliving their income and being a burden on their children. They fear chronic illness, and they want to leave a legacy. If you're a life insurance producer or in the traditional investment business and this describes your clients, we can help. Call me, Jay Stubbs, 251-604-7024, or find me online at firstprotective.com.
For our final segment here, I want to thank Hayes for his time. Honestly, I thought that the costs, when I saw them, were going to be much more intimidating than they are. I mean, there's some expensive destinations, but considering what I know other camps can cost, this is not all that out there. And the destinations and the outcomes, let's face it, the outcomes, if I could get any of those changes in any of my 4 kids, it would be an investment I'm certainly willing to look into. And once I did some comparison, realized that he's not way out there, and it's worth looking at. Moondanceadventures.com if you're curious. Not much time to wrap up today. Got to thank the people that helped me out. Kristen Ogden found Hayes for me, coordinated our calendars, got him prepped for the show, and I want to appreciate her help getting him on the phone. John Thompson, as always, helps out with the audio, adds the music, takes out a lot of the stumbles and mumbles and fumbles that I do throughout the program. Eager to hear from you. Give us your thoughts. You got a show you'd like to hear. You got somebody I need to know? Reach out to me, 251-260-8100. That is our hotline. That hotline is not monitored, so it's kind of actually a cool line, not hot. But you can leave a message or you can send me a text there. You can email me directly, cam@cammarston.com, or go to the website. We'll have another show for you next week. Have a good week, everyone.